The film In the Mood for Love, directed by Wong Kar-wai, is about two neighbors who form a strong bond after suspecting that their spouses are cheating on them with each other. Although there are many themes present in the film, I think the theme of mianzi or face really prevails. Mianzi or face refers to the sociological concept found in many cultures that links the ideas of honor, dignity, and self-worth that a person has. A person's mianzi is their reputation and the image they put out into their community and into the world. Mianzi, or face, promotes trust, respect, and integrity throughout everyday life. If you do something morally wrong or dishonorable, you run the risk of losing face. In Chinese culture, everything is everyone's business. In the film, Mrs. Shun, the woman who rents out a room in her apartment to Mrs. Chen, was relentlessly nosy. She always knew what was going on in everyone's lives, and if she didn't, she would figure out a way to find out. The neighbors and main characters in the film, Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow, worry about losing face throughout the entire film. Some of that comes from their spouses cheating on them, and some of that comes from their own feelings of desire and love for one another. Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow work hard to avoid being seen together by Mrs. Shun. If Mrs. Shun found out that Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow had done something morally wrong, she would most likely gossip and the whole community would find out, causing severe loss of face for the main characters. This is because in Chinese culture, as in most cultures, it is frowned upon and seen as morally wrong to have an affair. Additionally, if something affects your face, it affects the face of the people around you as well. That means that the main character's spouse's relationships would cause a loss of face for Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow, too, had that affair gone public. A few specific scenes highlight the presence and importance of mianzi in Chinese culture. During one scene, Mr. Chow's coworker tells him that he saw Mrs. Chow with another man, and Mr. Chow responded with, "Probably a friend." When I first watched this scene, I didn't understand why Mr. Chow didn't admit to his coworker that he already had rising suspicions of his wife possibly cheating. Then I recognized the presence of mianzi yet again in the film. Mr. Chow told his coworker that the man he saw was probably his wife's friend because he was embarrassed and didn't want his broken relationship to make him lose face. At another point in the film, Mr. Chow and Mrs. Chan decide to become writing partners and write a martial arts serial together. Even when they claim to be nothing more than friends and now writing partners, they still feel the need to sneak around and not be seen together. This is because they would lose face in their community if they were seen with other men or women that are not their spouses, friend or not. Additionally, the film writer's choice of a martial arts serial as the genre the two would write together serves as a symbol of mianzi itself, as martial arts serials historically discuss chivalry, honor, and integrity. The love that Mr. Chow and Mrs. Chan have for them can represent the chivalrous, honorable, and honest standards that they hold themselves to, and therefore stress how fearful they are of going against these standards. Overall, the main character's adherence to the principles of mianzi is evidenced in their careful avoidance of gossip, scandal, and actions that could potentially tarnish their own or each other's reputations. Ultimately, their shared sense of honor and respect prevents them from openly confronting their spouses or indulging in a relationship that could be seen as morally questionable within the more conservative societal framework of the time. In the Mood for Love highlights how the concept of mianzi shapes people's interactions in Chinese culture, emphasizing the importance of maintaining social respectability even in the face of personal unhappiness and unfulfilled desires.